Hello guys, welcome back to our anime explainer. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of upcoming episode of Swallowed Star 2, Land of Origin based on novel. So let's start. Having become a primal chaos realm cultivator, Luo Feng only left a divine power incarnation outside, while his true body was engaged in dedicated cultivation within the Star Tower. Reaching my current realm, I have come to realize the shortcomings of the two lineages I've inherited, Luo Feng sighed softly. My mentor, the mountain-sitting guest, did not bestow upon me a godly king-level inheritance. Clearly, my mentor did not think I was suited to follow the path of artifact refining. The Duandong River lineage, however, my third-generation ancestor did leave behind 3 godly king-level inheritances, Duan Mie, Dong Hua, and Undying River, but all these were paths that the ancestor himself had tread. What I need is a godly king-level inheritance in the law of life and the path of destruction. For an eternal true God, the pursuit is to master the laws of primal chaos, Luo Feng thought, so choosing any few inheritances would be very suitable for oneself. But for beings in the primal chaos realm, they have already mastered the law of primal chaos, and what they need next is to comprehend the origin great Tao. Luo Feng sensed the heavens and the earth. He could glimpse the many origin great Taos faintly hidden behind the chaos. These origin great Taos, combined, form the supreme rules. The supreme rules dictate the operations of the entire world. A suitable godly king-level inheritance. I don't have a single one, Luo Feng had no choice. If it were another top eternal true god, faced with the recruitment of the monarch of Yu country, they probably would have submitted to apprenticeship long ago. With the monarch of Yu country's status, he could grant his disciple a suitable godly king-level inheritance. My godly king-level inheritance can only rely on Emperor Chu's lineage of the flame-wind ancient country for now, Luo Feng considered. Now that I have become a primal chaos realm cultivator, I wonder whether Emperor Chu Yu has made a breakthrough. He needs to break through before he can recruit me as a guest elder. Luo Feng calmed his mind and refrained from overthinking. Without a suitable godly king-level inheritance, I can only begin with some suitable inheritances for primal chaos realm cultivators for the time being. The primal chaos great strength diagram demands increasingly higher artifact refining skills as it progresses, and the resources needed for the fourth refinement of my perfect divine body will also be incredibly vast. I am too poor, I simply can't afford the cultivation. Luo Feng had already half given up on this technique. On the one hand, the upper limit of this inheritance is not high. After all, it's only a technique at the level of the primal chaos realm. On the other hand, the demands for artifact refining skills are too high. At the stage of an eternal true god, with my talent and guidance from Shong Qianyang to resolve my confusions, I was still able to achieve 3 body refinements. But at the stage of the primal chaos realm, the artifact refining skills undergo a qualitative change, and I don't plan to spend too much effort on it. Another key point is that the resource requirements are far too great. The resources I struggle to earn should be spent on Emperor Chu's lineage of the flame-wind ancient country's inheritances instead, as good steel should be used on the edge of the knife. The world-breaking 9 blades is worth practicing for a longer period, as this blade technique is also in the direction of the path of destruction. It's a pity that it's only a technique at the primal chaos realm level. Luo Feng put some effort into studying it. The world-breaking 9 blades in the primal chaos realm consist only of 3 blades. They are Primal Chaos Blade, Heaven and Earth Blade, and World-Breaking Blade. The final style, World-Breaking Blade, seeks to break through all spatial layers, utterly shattering the entire world, creating a crack in the braided cage. Unfortunately, the world-breaking blade can only break through most of the spatial layers, and still can't break the cage. The entire technique, world-breaking 9 blades, can only represent the creator's pursuit. Even for a godly king, breaking the braided cage is not an easy task. Luo Feng continued his meticulous research. Having reached the primal chaos realm, even the space of inheritance from the Duan Dong River lineage is of little help. This inheritance space primarily aims to cultivate disciples into eternal true gods. It would already be a miracle to cultivate a primal chaos realm cultivator. As for going even higher, the space of inheritance only offers some information and guidelines. Inside the city owner's mansion, in the villa where Luo Feng resided, Morosa was eating roasted meat, and looking at Mo Yu Qingyang not far away. He couldn't help but curse. How can you be so foolish? Not even the basic laws do you comprehend yet. Compared to your master, your talent is lacking by who knows how many times. I dare not compare myself to my master. Mo Yu Qingyang could not help but say, actually, I'm only one step away from the time law now, and within these more than 30 epochs of time, nearly grasping the 10 fundamental laws. I think that's not too bad. Shut your mouth. Morosa scolded angrily. Don't you think about how much effort I've put into teaching you? The time law alone, how many times have I explained it to you? It must have been over 10,000 times, right? You fool. Mo Yu Qingyang quietly listened. He was very grateful to Lord Luo Sa in his heart. After all, his master had not given him guidance for over 30 epochs, but Lord Luo Sa had patiently guided him time and again. Only recently did he learn that Lord Luo Sa was also a powerful eternal true god, even stronger than Commander Mo Li Xiao and Shui Yun, a protector of his master. That such a strong person would provide him with long-term careful guidance, Mo Yu Qingyang was very touched. Usually, a mentor would not be so dedicated. In his heart, Mo Yu Qingyang had already begun to regard Morosa as his mentor. Crunch, crunch, an irritated Morosa quickly devoured the roasted meat. Morosa, come in. Luo Feng communicated telepathically, and then moved Morosa into the Star Tower. Naturally, Morosa offered no resistance. Inside the Star Tower. Master, did you call for me? Morosa chuckled, in front of Mo Yu Qingyang. I can hit and scold as I wish, but in front of the master, I must be cautious and humble. I want to see just how big a gap there is between me, a newly advanced primal chaos realm cultivator, and you, a deeply cultivated primal chaos realm cultivator, Luo Feng said. To compare with me. Morosa couldn't help but say, Master, you've only recently made your breakthrough, and your godly body is still far from the limit. Such a big gap, why compare? I know I can't win. I just want to feel the gap, Luo Feng said. Upon reflection, Morosa said, I won't burn any divine power or use any primal chaos realm moves, and I'll just rely on my body to compare with the master. This way, I should be able to exercise about 10% of my strength. If divine power were to be burned, his strength would soar by several times over. And if he were to use secret techniques, there would naturally be an increase. All right. Luo Feng showed no mercy. With an outstretched hand, the blood shadow knife appeared in his palm. Boom. Luo Feng executed an all-out burning of divine power with Duan Mie, utilizing the skills of the primal chaos laws that he was still capable of learning. It was just that the more advanced techniques were beyond his ability to master. Come on, come at me, Morosa confidently beckoned. In an instant, Luo Feng swung out a primal chaos blade light, which even severed the operation of the primal chaos laws. Within the area covered by the blade technique, the primal chaos laws were already cleaved apart, opening up a deep, dark rift that cut through several layers of space. This strike was also the first blade of the world-breaking 9 blades within the primal chaos realm, the primal chaos blade. This blade, based on the primal chaos laws and containing some mysteries of the destruction origin, was still rather elementary. Luo Feng had managed to master it after spending just a little time on it. But the second and third blades of the sequence were far beyond Luo Feng's current accumulations in the field of destruction, making them much harder to practice. Phut! Morosa reached out with his plump hand and forcefully resisted Luo Feng's strike. His palm skin slightly indented, effortlessly dissipating the power of the blade. Master, that's quite powerful. If it were twice as strong, it might injure me, Morosa shouted. That shouldn't be the case, Luo Feng said, puzzled as he sheathed his knife. Why have you stopped, Master? Morosa asked in confusion. Luo Feng shook his head. I haven't broken through for long. That strike was the maximum strength I could muster. Search the noelfa.net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Morosa blinked. He had already said there was no need for a sparring match, but the master insisted on proceeding. Now that the master is somewhat embarrassed, would he take it out on him? That shouldn't be the case, Luo Feng couldn't help but say, although my godly body is far from reaching its limit, my divine power is quite pure, surpassing that of a normal primal chaos realm cultivator. This blade with maximum burning of divine power, how could it not even break your skin? If Morosa used a body protection secret method, or burned divine power, Luo Feng would find it quite normal not to be able to break through his skin. But to not even break it with a mere 10% of strength. Would that mean that even if Luo Feng grew to his limit, he would only barely be able to injure Morosa? Well, that's because, Morosa began to explain, I'm not a normal cultivator, I'm a sector beast. My body naturally trains to be incredibly resilient, far surpassing any body refinement technique the master has. That's why the master couldn't break my skin. Morosa had always looked down on the master's body refinement methods. Far surpassing my body refinement methods. Luo Feng could understand. After all, Morosa was a being born with a complete grasp of the destruction origin, so it stood to reason that his body training method would surpass the primal chaos great strength diagram. With no precious materials consumed, how do you refine your body? Luo Feng inquired. Master, what is body refinement? Morosa looked at Luo Feng. For instance, the most basic unit of your cultivator's bodies is divine power. For sector beasts, it is the power of sector beasts. How to more efficiently combine divine power to greatly enhance defense, strength, and speed, that is called body refinement. There's more than one method for divine power to combine more efficiently. The so-called refinement of the godly body, as if it were a weapon's secret treasure, is merely one path. Morosa looked at Luo Feng. I don't need resources. I just need to alter the structure formed by the power of sector beasts in accordance with the enlightenment from the origin of destruction to naturally make the entire body stronger. However, this method is not suitable for you, Master. I am a sector beast, containing a realm within my body. This is the body refinement method that nurtures realms. Morosa explained. Luo Feng then understood. Indeed. The essence of body training is making divine power combine more efficiently. And treating it as an artifact refining is just one of the paths. Let me have a look at your method, Luo Feng requested. Sure. Morosa extended his hand, strands of power of sector beast flew out, beginning to combine, but even if you watch, Master, you won't be able to practice it. This body refinement method is based on the core of a realm. The seemingly common power of sector beast combined intricately, and such structure was so beautiful that Luo Feng marveled at it. Just like many grains of sand combined to form a weapon capable of tearing through the starry sky. Changing the most fundamental structure, eventually, makes the whole body very strong. This process doesn't require consuming massive resources, merely a combination of the power of sector beast. This is much more sophisticated than refining the body into a secret treasure. Marvelous, Luo Feng exclaimed. I've heard that some ancient godly kings had unfathomably mysterious godly bodies. They probably did it in a similar way. Morosa's such fine body refinement techniques had only been a subject of hearsay to Luo Feng. His master, mountain sitting guest, and those of the Duandong River lineage also only had some records about such inheritance, which was considered very precious even among the godly king-level inheritances. This path is one I can try. Luo Feng felt instinctively that he could replicate Morosa's sector beast power structure to a degree of 70 to 80%. The main issue was his lack of a realm and not being as advanced in the path of destruction as Morosa. But as a perfect divine body, with the ability to be formless and intangible, he could transform at will, even divine power into the power of sector beast. He could fully mimic and learn, drawing experience from it. Luo Feng extended his hand, and strands of sector beast power appeared, quickly combining to form a seemingly perfect structure. Morosa looked on in surprise. His master's divine power could also transform into the power of sector beast, which Morosa had long known. But this body refinement breakthrough had only been achieved by him after a long period in the primal chaos realm. It looks similar on the surface, but there are some differences inside, Morosa observed carefully and said. A miss is as good as a mile. Luo Feng nodded. My realm in the destruction of the origin is not as good as yours. I can't mimic it perfectly. Only by fully understanding the composition of a substance can one transform perfectly, otherwise, one could only disguise its surface at most. For example, he had seen a godly king up close. The surface disguise could be very similar, but the internal differences were vast. Moreover, it lacks realm. The realm within your body is the core of the body refining method. It's the key to why your body is so strong. Luo Feng shook his head, knowing that no matter how he transformed, he could not produce a realm. Luo Feng looked at the structure of sector beast power floating above his palm. It seems perfect, but in reality, it is unstable and could collapse at any moment. Morosa watched from the side. He couldn't assist his master. His growth came from eating and drinking naturally. The thought of researching secret techniques gave him a headache. You can go about your business. Luo Feng waved his hand, sending Morosa away. Luo Feng was alone, silently observing the floating structure of sector beast power before him. It was so beautiful. The body refining method that Morosa, a darling of destruction origin, had mastered, was perhaps considered among the very top of its class across the entire land of origin. Buzz. Luo Feng extended his hand to disperse the sector beast power structure, and began to form it with divine power. The divine power formed an identical structure, but it seemed so strange. No, this is completely wrong. Luo Feng shook his head. Alone inside Star Tower, Luo Feng attempted to modify, simplify, and integrate his ideas, using all means, but failing to come up with a stable divine power structure. With insufficient realm, relying on mere imitation to research a set of body refining methods is indeed wishful thinking, Luo Feng said with a light smile, dispersing the dozen or so divine power structures in the air. I will need to accumulate enough realm, and then explore slowly. Luo Feng looked toward the distance. In the corner of this layer of space, a small space was sealed off, where 15 primal chaos layer creatures were flying joyfully. As long as they were fed a sufficient amount of primal chaos crystals, they lived carefree lives. In the past, Luo Feng often observed primal chaos layer creatures, but after breaking through to the primal chaos realm, their value to him had diminished. A thought struck Luo Feng. Primal chaos layer creatures, their structure is incredibly simple, and I have studied them many times. Luo Feng pondered. I can try to transform. The formless and intangible ability of the perfect life form had failed on Morosa's body refining method, but now Luo Feng had his sights set on the primal chaos layer creatures. Transform. Luo Feng pointed his finger. Immediately a silver droplet formed. This silver droplet was incredibly stable. I understand the primal chaos laws. this silver droplet creature is the one I have studied the most, and it is originally formed from droplets of silver. Luo Feng revealed a smile. Primal chaos divine power surged, and one after another silver droplet formed. A total of 120 silver droplets floated. Luo Feng smiled as he watched, but gradually his brows furrowed. This is wrong. They can't fuse. Luo Feng tried to touch the silver droplets together, but they still couldn't merge. A real silver droplet creature would actively fuse together, and its power would undergo a qualitative change. But why can't these silver droplets I transformed merge? Why can't they merge? Luo Feng pondered. Could it be that I haven't thoroughly researched their essence? To fully understand is to perfectly transform. In the epoch of the primordial cosmos, he had confirmed his capability of formless and intangible. This silver droplet has a relatively simple structure. What else have I not seen through? Luo Feng beckoned with his hand, and immediately captured the longest silver light creature formed from 1091 silver droplets. In front of Luo Feng, now in the primal chaos realm, this silver light creature had no ability to resist. It was rapidly split into a silver droplet. Whoosh! With a gentle swipe of Luo Feng's finger, the silver droplet was sliced apart, dissolving into silver mist and visualized primal chaos laws. This silver mist is just a condensed form of chaotic power. This visualization of the primal chaos laws. Luo Feng's expression changed, as he immediately noticed the issue. Previously, as an eternal true God, he determined at a glance that this was a visualization of the primal chaos laws. But now, having grasped the primal chaos laws and become part of the primal chaos realm, he recognized the problem. This is indeed a visualization of the primal chaos laws, containing the characteristics of primal chaos gold and water of primal chaos. But it has a hint of spirituality, Luo Feng realized. He had simply copied the primal chaos laws visualization, he understood directly. Yet in reality, the primal chaos laws visualization within the silver droplets seemed alive. As if it had come alive. Possessing spirituality of primal chaos laws. Luo Feng's complexion changed slightly. In the land of origin region of the primordial cosmos, an incarnation of Luo Feng's divine power headed straight for the primordial cosmos. The primordial cosmos, at the source ground, that core location. Great Tao of life origin. Luo Feng had come here again, looking up at the towering Great Tao of life origin. It had different aspects, and from different perspectives, it appeared differently. After grasping the primal chaos laws, Luo Feng felt that understanding the Great Tao of life origin seemed not so difficult anymore. My previous realm was too weak. I actually thought that silver droplet creatures contained only the complete primal chaos laws. I was wrong, so wrong. Luo Feng, facing the vast Great Tao of life origin, knew he was mistaken. This endless twisting dragon before him could be viewed from various angles, and one could also see a winding dragon bone connecting the whole body. The information contained within this winding dragon bone allowed Luo Feng to vaguely see flowers blooming, fuzzy creatures breaking out of their shells. An ancient tree that had lived for countless years, one day, suddenly cultivated spirituality. It came alive and became a plant life. The spirit of life is the starting point of life. A touch of the spirit of life can even bring a stubborn stone to life, turning it into a rock-type creature. Silver droplet creatures don't have a clear consciousness, they can't think or communicate. But the essence of their life is very high, Luo Feng pondered. Even the most basic element of their life structure, a silver droplet, contains life spirituality. Like humans, like many animals. In their blood, bones, muscles, and so on, there is no spirituality. Only when a soul merges with the body does it count as a life. Without a soul, it is just a walking corpse. Even true gods, True gods of void space, eternal true gods, each one is like this, the soul is fundamental. Some plant life cultivate a bit of spirituality from the whole plant. Whereas silver droplet creatures, each silver droplet of theirs contains life spirituality. This makes the life that finally comes together extraordinarily powerful. I originally thought its core was just the complete primal chaos laws. Now I know, its core is the primal chaos laws merged with the spirit of life. It's just that the spirituality isn't particularly high. Luo Feng looked at the dragon bone of this endless coiling dragon before him. Facing the origin of life, Luo Feng understood how terrifying it could be if the life spirituality was strong enough. A touch of spirituality can animate a stubborn rock. If every drop of divine power contained spirituality, how terrifying would that be? If it harbors strong spirituality, each portion of divine power would seem to come alive, fundamentally transforming. The strength, speed, and resilience of the godly body could soar rapidly. The godly body itself would become immensely powerful, virtually unshakable, Luo Feng thought, and if willing, each part of my divine power could develop its own consciousness, capable of giving birth to a new life. A single drop of my blood, guided by my will, can form another strong and vivid life. These vibrant lives are limited by the amount of power I bestow upon them. The more divine power I bestow, the larger this independent life becomes. If I were a godly king, I could differentiate my flesh and blood, and perhaps create thousands of primal chaos realm incarnations, Luo Feng mused. The flesh and blood I can divide are parts of my godly body. If I divide it out, I too would become weakened. The pathway of life spirituality. The so-called animating life, creating powerful incarnations are merely auxiliary uses. For those who have become godly kings along this path, their godly bodies are the most terrifying. Their godly bodies are an upgraded version of the silver droplet creatures. Parts of their flesh and blood can be condensed to form weapons. Destroying them is as difficult as destroying Emperor-level secret treasure weapons. With my humble realm, I can only glimpse a part of the path of life spirituality. Luo Feng looked at the endless coiling dragon before him. Perhaps there are other terrifying aspects. That ancestral god of the snow realm had mastered one of the branches of the great Tao of life origin. Its ability to preserve life reached an unbelievable extent. Despite immense sins, it still lives to this day. The great Tao of life origin has many branches. The more branches you master, the more terrifying you become. If you can merge many branches into one, mastering the complete great Tao of life origin, Luo Feng gazed up at the towering endless coiling dragon. An existence that has mastered the full great Tao of life origin is just like this endless winding dragon. Such a being is the embodiment of the concept of life itself. Life spirituality. Luo Feng sat cross-legged, carefully observing the vast origin great Tao, studying the dragon bone of the endless coiled dragon. Luo Feng knew his realm was shallow. He was only researching some information similar to the spirituality of the silver droplet creatures. When he could perfectly change the silver droplet creatures, it would represent a small achievement on the path of life spirituality. Days went by. In Luo Feng's eyes, there was only that dragon bone containing endless spiritual information, continuously absorbing the information. The more he understood, the deeper his understanding of the spirituality of the silver droplet creatures. Only time would tell how long it had been. The novel, F.I.et website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. I should be able to change it now, Luo Feng, with a certain level of understanding of life spirituality, naturally gained confidence. This video will end here.